is somebody who's truly built her journey from scratch. She's made history as the first woman to receive the prestigious US Success Award. Now please join me in welcoming Shahnaz Husain, the founder, chairman and MD of the Husain Group, in conversation with my colleague Rakshita on the theme, the Doyen of Bharat's Beauty. Let's give her a huge round of applause.
We talk about leaders, women leaders today. We're celebrating women leaders today, entrepreneurs today, of the modern times, of the country who's moving towards a Viksit Bharat. But back in the 70s, who would have thought? Who would have dared to thought? Well, ma'am did. And she has a very, very interesting story, very, very inspiring journey. And she's here to share all that with you. So thank you so much, ma'am, once again.
Thank you.
You know, it was a very, very, I think, a roller coaster ride for you, but I think I would call it a fairy tale, you know, as you built a global brand. Back in the 70s, ma'am, you know, as a young bride and a young mother, where did this drive really come from?
It's very hard to explain, but to be married at 15 and a daughter at 16 was not easy. It's not easy to do nothing. I was married and from morning till night, just waiting for next morning. So, and because I was 14 when I was engaged, I was only 7th standard pass. So I thought I must first educate myself and then do some work. My husband was posted in Iran at that time with the External Affairs, and I went across the road for a job. And they said, to teach English. And then next day they said, you can't get the job. I said, why? He's not a graduate. So I cried and cried and cried and said, what to do? They said, okay. In those days, I was writing for Femina. So I started writing articles for an Iranian magazine for the English-speaking residents. And I gradually earned money to educate myself in 5 countries. But during the course of my education and earning money, I was writing the articles by hand in beauty and sending it. And the editor wrote back, dear Shahnaz Husain, your writing is so terrible. Stop writing or start typing. So now I've lost my job, and I cried and cried. So I couldn't do anything. So I started typing with one finger. In those days, I had the Remington typewriter. Remington. Just type with one finger. 10,000 words a week. And it became sore, the finger. So what is it used to bleed? I used to clean it with tincture iodine and put Band-Aid. So I went to a doctor. I said, doctor, can you help me? What do you do? I said, I write articles. He saw my finger. He said, you type? I said, yes. I said, you have to stop typing. I said, doctor, I can't stop typing. Because then, I would not be able to earn. So he said, if you don't stop typing, I'll have to cut off your fingers. I only say this for you to understand my mental condition. I looked at the doctor and looked at my finger. I said, I can't stop typing because I need the money. So I looked at my finger and said, even if he cuts off the finger, there'll still be a little bit left. So I said, doctor, how much will you cut? He said, what? You are prepared to cut your finger but not stop typing. Now leave the clinic, I cannot treat you. I came crying back home. Next 3 years, I kept typing. I earned so much money to pay for all the colleges abroad, and then left money in Iran to send back to India. That's the kind of effort I put into my education. So gradually I came back and started my own salon. I don't do really beauty. It's treatment and cure. Falling hair, dandruff, acne, pigmentation. Then I started representing India abroad at press conferences. I had a very unusual style of working. I never advertised. I'm a case study in Harvard on how to create a brand without publicity. Today I give half a page, tomorrow 1 page. Day after, somebody better gives another page. They forget you. So I said that my products should be such they speak for themselves. They work. So I finally became a subject in Harvard because they said, we spend millions of dollars to advertise and you promote your brand just with word of mouth. After lecturing at Harvard and MIT, I went on to create my own brand, and gradually the business grew. Is there any question?
How much of a support did you get, or did you get any support at all? Because you're from a very different background, of course, very high-profile background, but delving into beauty or skincare, rather, as we say. What gave you wings and those dreams? As a young Shahnaz, what inspired you to take on this journey in skincare?
I had no help from my in-laws at all. I told my husband, I said, I'm going to do beauty and study. If you say yes, I'll go. If you say no, I'll go. In any case, I'll go. So I started the journey. And finally, I came back to India as the highest qualified beautician in India because nobody had started at 15.
Back then, what made you think that Ayurveda is something that I'm going to go forward with?
With cosmetics empires pumping billions of dollars into a hysterically mad cosmetic industry, selling youth and dreams in bottle jars, there stood up and sold India's 3,000-year-old civilization in a jar. I remember I was in school in London. That's how I started Ayurveda. I was in school in London, and one of my friends used to come every day. The school is called Helena Rubinstein. Aapne naam suna? Helena Rubinstein. And she would leave a very lovely lady outside the room. I said, why don't you bring her in? Oh, she's my mother. I said, so what? Bring her in. She said, she's blind. I said, why? What happened? She said she was a model for a very famous eye makeup company, and she started getting blurring in the vision. And I said, take her to a doctor. He said, no problem, it's an allergy. And gradually, my mother became blind. So I thought, if a woman can go blind with a beauty business, there's something wrong in our system. And that's when I started Ayurveda.
And it was a very male-dominated industry back then, So how did you really, make your own way through becoming a leader, becoming an entrepreneur that time in the skincare industry?
You see, it may sound hard to you, but I had no option. I had to work to grow the brand. So what I did is I put my name outside the gate with all my diplomas. London, Paris, Germany, New York, Paris. Every country I specialized. But then I started converting all the formulations into Ayurveda. It's 3000 BC. And I made 1 and 2 and 3. And finally, the entire range was Ayurveda. I was scared of the side effects of chemicals. Actually, even hair dye is very dangerous. You should either use henna or let yourself the way you are. Hair dye is bad.
And making this a global brand, that too with the Ayurveda being at the center of it, how was the openness in other countries towards Ayurveda? How were they ready to accept it, embrace it?
I remember when I spoke at a conference in Monte Carlo, I spoke about Ayurveda that they didn't understand. But after a 1-hour talk, they made me the president of the organization without India being a member country. But I carried on my journey in a very different way. And it's good if you promote this idea to other people who are in my line. I never advertised, but every country that I went to, I held a press conference and a Q&A with the press and television, and gave away free samples and flew back to the country. And I think every country that I can imagine, including Hawaii, I held a press conference. Some days I did 2 countries one day. I had Japan, Hawaii, Japan, Delhi. I only held press conferences wherever I went. When I went to inaugurate a salon, I'd hold a press conference and fly back. And next day, every paper, every channel would be full of Shahnaz.
And handling all this as a young, mother also, how did you handle all of this?
See, in a working mother, the family is neglected. I'm sure I was not a good wife, not a good mother, but I was a 24-hour working woman. I created the brand with willpower. In life, it's not important what you want. What really matters is how badly you want it. You can achieve anything in life. You must want it that much. If I'm walking and I see a wall, I don't turn my back and come back. I break the wall and walk through and let the world fall into place.
Any moment when you felt like, this is maybe what you can say, a wall, and any moment, any sort of a moment when you thought that, this is a challenge, if you could share that with us, but you went past through it, and you felt that, this was an uphill task, but you had to bludgeon your way, push your way through and win.
I think there's not one, but several moments in your life that come with this type of mental condition. When you feel that they may not be here tomorrow, it's so bad. But then when you make yourself realize that there is no option, you go ahead. I was married initially into a very, very conservative family. But then I had made up my mind, and I don't think anybody could have changed it. I just flew all over the world, in every country holding press conferences, and gradually from all over the world, people write it back. Can we have Shahnaz? And it grew globally into an international brand. And finally, we entered Harrods in London, Selfridges in London, Lari Nascente in Milan, Spain. Every country in the world that I visit would open my store.
Today, you have observed changing times. There's more access, exposure for women today. We have so many women entrepreneurs today. What do you think could be still missing, if at all you think is missing for women today who are aspiring to be entrepreneurs, business women, or leaders in any field?
Like a lot of women come up to me and say, "Ma'am, मुझे कुछ करना है, मगर my घर वाले नहीं करने देते. My husband doesn't allow me. My in-laws don't allow me." I said, "Look here. As far as I am concerned, You're born alone, you die alone. If something happens on the way that doesn't suit the people around you, it's not their business, it's yours. It's your problem, you make up your mind. You don't listen to anybody except yourself. Life is yours. You go ahead. I ask nobody except myself. In the course of your life, if you're not hurting anybody, not harming anybody, you go ahead. It does finally affect the family. I have a lovely daughter who works along with me. Her name is Nilofer. And I think she's cleverer than me in business. I'm better with PR. So together we make a good combination. She handles most of the business, and I do PR.
And what would you have told yourself if you speak to a younger version of yourself? What would you tell younger Shahnaz today?
I would have been the way I am. Nobody can change me. I had this wild and fierce determination that I will be what I want to be. See, I walked the red carpet twice. There's nothing that I wanted to do and did not do. There was no store that I wasn't in. There's nothing. It's very simple. It's a very lovely stage in life to be, where you feel that whatever you want has been achieved. And all you do is to go ahead, never looking back.
How do you, what would you tell those who are looking for going for something unconventional, as you did back then? Being a woman entrepreneur in in any industry that there is not much exposure in. There were more of people who were running towards maybe international brands, or they're not enough to look up to within the country. Something that is not in the mainstream today. If somebody is daring to look at that kind of a scope, what would you tell that person?
I think first everyone must see what they love to do. Everybody must be having some type of qualification. You follow that and then go ahead. Never look back and never, never, never give up. In my lifetime, I would never give up. I just go on with the journey and do my best. Never stopping, because actually, I don't think I'll ever arrive. I'll just go on forever. I think so.
What's really keeping you going on?
My passion for life. Every day, I'm constantly trying to create a new product. And I think, very good with patience for PR. PR has been my destiny creator. Even now, when I go out, there's this mania for selfies. And I remember at the trade fair, when I was there, the pillar crashed and my senior officer broke his shoulder. Even recently also, we had problems. Because, there's this new thing called selfie, all of you know. Before you know, the hand is up. And one hand is not up. There's several dozen hands up. So you can't say no. So that is the new trend. Selfies, and there's different kind of press. You don't need to have an ad. You need to be present in today.
There is so much of information, misinformation, everything on the internet about skincare. And when you've been for decades marrying Ayurveda with the science, you feel there is enough that has been done to preserve this science and, now even go beyond the research and development?
People don't understand the side effects of chemicals. All of you, I'm sure, use face washes or shampoos or hair dye. I remember a huge magazine. I'll send you a copy of the paper tomorrow. It said, it's an American paper, it said that thousands of people are dying of kidney failure and still using color for their hair. What is the use of beauty when you may not exist. The side effects are bad. The problem is any chemical used in the skin, if it's got ammonia or any other product for the hair or body, it immediately goes in the bloodstream, damaging your system. So I think all of you should really concentrate on beauty from the kitchen shelf, like a mummy did.
You feel that there needs to be more trust that needs to be inculcated because there's enough publicity for the, the chemical brands, in different kinds of skincares, the trends that are going on.
I myself daily see the papers, this huge one-page ad or two-page ad on a product. But what is the point? It may cost 25 lakhs, 20 lakhs for one page. Next morning, there's a better ad. Ads don't work. Results work. I remember one of my clients went to Italy. She was the ambassador's daughter. And the doctor said, go back to India, go back to Shahnaz Husain. I wonder how the doctor in Italy knew about my skincare. There's something called word of mouth, which works more than ad, because word of mouth doesn't disappear. There's something called memory, and people remember.
And trust and reliability, of course.
Pardon?
Trust, reliability.
Yes.
Yes.
If I've done good, it'll show. If I've not worked, it won't show.
What do you feel when you look back? And today when you speak here at the very present moment, what do you think you still want to do? Or you have done it all, you want to do something? Is there something on your list?
I want to do some work for the space program. I was watching a film and I saw them using chemical, I won't name the brand, they were using chemical in their hair. And I got very worried and I created a product called SHAHNAAZ, which I've got, and I don't think I think that they require 10 years of research before using it in space. So anyway, I've done my bit and made SHAHNAAZ so that, they've already ruined this world. You can't ruin the moon and stars. I worry for tomorrow because the world has to have a chemical-free future.
A big round of applause for Miss Shahnaz Husain. And thank you so much, ma'am. It's wonderful talking to you and really, really inspiring personally as well, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you and take care.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.